Finally, to ways in which we can avoid contracting coronavirus. Now, it's apparently all about our immunity. And earlier today, I caught up with immunologist Professor Nigel McMillan. Explain to me why we're hearing that older people are more vulnerable to the coronavirus. Is it because older people have a lower immunity? Is it because of their old age? Is it because of pre-existing conditions? Explain that to us.
Oh, you've mentioned all the factors. Basically, our immune system peaks at about the age of 13, and it's all downhill from there. My students delight when I tell them that, since they're all over the age of 13 in their 20s. So basically, it's a combination of immune system deficiency as time goes on, and also poorer lung function, poorer heart function. So this virus tends to really pick out those people who have compromised hearts and lungs and immune systems, and they're the vulnerable ones. So not only our old, but also some of our younger people who might have these sort of pre-existing conditions are also vulnerable.
So what can we do to improve our immunity and have a greater chance of not contracting the virus?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously having a healthy diet and making sure that you're fit are the two best things that you can actually do. So even old people who do resistance weight training, etc., these are all things that are going to improve your cardiovascular performance and remove some of the, or reduce some of the factors that might make you more vulnerable. Basically, the fitter you are and the healthier you are, the more resistant you'll be. And as you notice, kids don't seem to even notice they have this virus infection at all.
That's very true. What are the things we should avoid then to lead to improving our immunity? What things cause our immunity to be reduced dramatically?
So part of it's just the ageing process itself, but obviously obesity, diabetes, drinking excessively, these are all things that will impair upon your immune function. And then also things, that allow you to, gain weight and over drinking. These are the sorts of things that are going to make you less competent to fight off a virus.
So if I've got high immunity because of all the things that I'm following from what you've said and I'm doing, does it mean that if I come in contact with someone who's carrying the virus, I can still avoid contracting it myself?
Well, contracting the virus is something different in a sense. What it means, though, is you'll be in a better position to fight the virus off because you will contract the virus anyway. The virus will get in. It's just a matter of how well your immune system can fight it off. I mean, this is like vaccines. Vaccines don't stop infection. Vaccines stop the disease itself. So you'll still get infected, but you'll be in a better position to fight it off.
We're talking about a death rate of between 3 and 4% of those who've got the virus. Is that a high mortality rate or a low mortality rate?
Well, it's certainly less than SARS, which was 10%, or MERS, which is about 35%, or Ebola, which is about 60%. But I was hoping myself that the death rate would stick around that 1% level we were seeing initially, but that does not now seem to be the case. Really, the fatality rate seems to be creeping up into that 3% range, and this is just going to mean that those vulnerable populations, we're going to see more fatalities in those groups, and there's really not much we can do about that in the sense that this is the nature of the virus itself.
If and when a vaccine comes online and we get access to it, is that the end of the virus after that?
Well, when you look at some of the past pandemics we've had, they all end at some stage and they all go away. There are two outcomes we might see for this virus. Firstly, it may just disappear like SARS, and that's if we really work to contain and isolate patients who are infected and essentially snuff out those little, like a bushfire, we're snuffing out those embers so the virus can't make itself into a big fire. The vaccine will be basically for the most vulnerable and our medical workers to start with. But if we get a vaccine and we come to that second scenario, and that is this just becomes an endemic virus, another cold virus we'll have in wintertime, like flu, like all the common cold viruses. And once you've had it, of course, you'll be immune to it anyway, so you won't get reinfected at all. It's
true that we've had recent winters where influenza has claimed sometimes more than 1,000 lives, right?
The statistics show us that last year the cause of death of influenza or pneumonia caused 4,000 deaths, and that's just situation normal. Typically, in a typical year in Australia, we have about 1,300 deaths attributed directly to influenza, but of course that kind of pales into comparison to the 1.5 million deaths a year we have from tuberculosis around the world.
A very good point. Thank you very much for your time.